There's one mistake that I keep seeing business owners make that costs them years and years of growth. And most business owners never see it coming. I catch this disaster every single week. And 2 months ago, I intercepted on this new website build because it was going to cause an absolute disaster and wipe 10 years of history and progress. It's the same scenario that I see day in, day out. Different industries, different niches, different types of sites, same exact problem. Now, what happens is the business owner decides they want a website rebuild, or somebody sells the business owner a rebuild. Maybe they want a rebrand. They've decided to change URLs. They're changing the domain itself. And I've talked about this quite a lot, but if SEO is important, if traffic from Google or traffic from AI and chatbots and agents is important to you, you really need to be careful and not to delete, wipe, or reset any kind of historic maturity that is associated with your old site, be it an ugly site, be it a Squarespace, Wix, whatever site that you may have built yourself 10 years ago. Chances are it already has some kind of trust with Google. And a lot of the time, what happens is a new website goes up. That website has no consideration for the old pages, old traffic. There's no plumbing reconnected. There's no redirections in place, and things just get wiped. Now, it can take months before the business owner realizes, hey, what's going on? I'm just feeling this. It's instantly wiped when old pages are sending users to dead new pages, 404 pages. I'm going to share my screen and share with you this particular case study, which is in the real estate and accommodation space. It's a national campaign. I intercepted 609 pages from disaster. So the old site that they were going from, it's on Squarespace. It's also an old domain. Had 69 pages indexed with Google, but not all of them are on page one. Not all of them were getting daily traffic, but they all have some kind of sense of maturity. And all of those pages were about to be redirected to the home page, which is a lot of the time what happens. I shouldn't say it's the fault of the designer or the web developer. I do believe there should be a little bit of initiative to ask a question. Hey, what's the current traffic of the old site? Which were the pages that were important and getting traffic and bringing genuine, meaningful conversions and value? Because that wasn't considered at all in this particular scenario. So this was a brand new build. We're moving across to WordPress. Great. A lot of custom post types and things like that. So a new rebrand, new domain, no SEO in the room at all. I guess that's why I was called in. Luckily, I was called in early enough. So the old site was a matured age domain in the accommodation space, real estate, property space, 600 plus pages indexed on Google, pulling real organic traffic, real inquiries that bring money. So years of accumulated authority, backlinks, and trust. Now the new site, a genuine rebrand. I'm not saying don't do that. Launched on a brand new domain. Thank God that happened, because if you did this to the old site, we wouldn't have been able to recover it like we did. I said, hey guys, let's pause for a second. Let's revisit the old pages. Let's map out and build them out onto the new site, which is exactly what we did. And while I'm here, it's looking very pretty. Now, we haven't actually done the redirect just yet, but you can see Google Search Console just in the last 2 months really waking up. Now, the old domain is still stuck in what I call the Google sandbox, which is like a trust period that happens with all domains. Considering we haven't redirected anything, there's been minimal links apart from the foundational links that I've sent from my current real estate and property sites, travel sites as well, national directory sites that are my own. It's looking quite good already, right? Nothing to super celebrate. 347 total links is still a baby, but you can see it's heading in the right direction very early on. I'd say a couple of months ahead of schedule. It started to get picked up by AI, ChatGPT. So below is Bing, Webmaster Tools. This is Google Search Console. So this is not traffic coming from social media. It's not traffic coming from direct website clicks. It's purely visitors from the Google search engine. Now, a rank tracker, I've got one set up in Sydney, Melbourne, and all major cities. I'm tracking 889 key terms. 14 of those are already page one, top three, position 1, 2, or 3. 59 of those are page 1 of Google, and 228 of those are top 30. Now, some of those keywords might get lots of traffic. Some of those keywords might not get any traffic at all, like Egyptian snow shovels. So it's the keywords that all have commercial intent value that we've decided on. Okay, so nothing to celebrate here early on. It's just good to see it moving so far on without the site redirection. Now back to this. We quickly identified that there's a gap. Even if we did the redirection and the migration 2 months ago, there was a gap of about 200 pages where the redirected page was going to be hitting a page very different to the original, which essentially is, you may as well let it be a 404 because you're misleading the user, right? So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about if there is a page about Egyptian snow shovels and you have rebuilt your website and it still includes Egyptian snow shovels, but the URL slug, the page is a little bit different, you need to reconnect the plumbing with Google and tell them, hey, we used to have this page here, now it's over there. In other words, a 301 redirection, okay? So we looked at every old page and it was about to be redirected to the new homepage on its own, which in many of those cases was going to be a bad experience for whoever the user was. Maybe they were looking for a specific listing in Brighton, in Bondi, and they were just being sent to the homepage. What was going to happen? They were going to back out. They were going to exit. That shows Google a terrible experience for the user, means they didn't find what they were looking for. There's going to be a lot of those backouts, people leaving your site back to Google, and that sends bad signals. You don't want that to happen. On top of that, every single page had no proper SEO titles, meta descriptions, which are not major because Google's going to write them for you anyway. You kind of just don't want to give them that kind of power. But what I found was quite shocking was no controllable H1s, H2s, H3s, and each of those should be followed up with some kind of supporting paragraph text targeting a specific key term. It was horrible. Poor page fundamentals, dirty junk pages sitting in the index, while main pages in the header were not even being indexed because the template, the custom post type, the custom coded had no way to adjust, and someone had to jump into the theme code to adjust it. So yeah, the pages that actually mattered weren't indexed at all. So that's what took about 2 months to build out 150 or so pages, map things out correctly, revisit all the old pages, update them, add the right tools so we had the right control. It took about 2 months, dedicated pages built out. So a lot of these pages were, let's say, specific property in Hobart, right? A lot of them were city pages. This is a specific niche. It touches on like heritage accommodation, heritage property, but also normal real estate, renovations, and other sort of niches in that space. That's just an example of a key term that's quite specific. So we had to build out the state pages, the city pages, the pages, especially in the accommodation stage where people want to book with families. A lot of those tags and those categories on the Squarespace site had quite a lot of maturity with Google. They were ranking and getting traffic, right? So short of it is, we've got a map now of all of the old pages. We've got a map now of the new pages. Now that they've built out, now we can begin redirecting and reconnecting the plumbing. So that means every old URL has now a direct destination, which is close to what it had. And it's easy for the user to understand, okay, they've gone through a rebrand. This is the new equivalent. They're less likely to back out. Now, this won't retain all of the SEO juice. I hope it does. Google said many times that it should, but what we see is it's a case-by-case basis because there's a lot of metrics, the new site pages, the architecture, and a whole bunch of other stuff. but a lot of the SEO juice is retained over the next 6 to 7 months. It begins to transfer. Sometimes it does much, much better, especially if you're going from a Squarespace or a Wix to a properly optimized WordPress. So in the long term, we win. So there was a lot of work with 486 pages, were quite thin, 0 unique content, but still worth saving. So we had to rewrite, revisit them page by page. Also, the old site had auto-generated sort of thin SEO tag pages that were indexed. So something needed to be considered for those. The new site had this annoying JavaScript filter where it basically creates dynamic pages that aren't indexed in Google. So if you're looking for accommodation in Hobart with family, the old Squarespace site had a sort of static page that had those words on the page, so it was easy to find. It's not even just about Google. We're optimizing for AI agents. How many of you are using ChatGPT or Claude connected with some kind of an agent and you want it to do research for you? That means most traffic that's hitting websites these days is bot traffic. And if it's not optimized and indexed for that bot traffic, you're not going to be considered. A bot won't go into the site and begin clicking JavaScript for the exact filters within your interface. I shouldn't say they won't. They can. They will just choose the easier red carpet when there's already an index page on Google from a competitor that literally says Egyptian snow shovels are available in this accommodation for family in Tasmania in Sandy Bay, 5 minutes from Hobart CBD. It's like text on the page. It's easily crawlable, easily indexable versus JavaScript that's hidden, okay? So the home page is where link equity goes to die. And this is what I see quite often. I've actually got another a cosmetic clinic on my desk at the moment. A financial planner from a few years ago was a horrible scenario. It was like a 50-page website, was just mauled into a single page. So they had retirement planning pages, financial advisory pages, they had send a link pages. They were all mature. They were all getting some kind of traffic, some kind of attention. Yes, the website was ugly. Same with this cosmetic clinic. The website is ugly. The new website is definitely prettier, but pushing deploy on that kills the old maturity. I think I'm starting to make sense here. Hopefully. The young site punching well above its trust. I've talked about this already, progressing through the ranks just with these clear on-page signals in the permalinks, in the H1, H2 supporting paragraph text. Also the image alt text, the image names, the naming convention. So out of 889 commercial keywords, 14 already positioned 1 to 3, 59 are top 10, and 228 are top 30. The correlation that I'm seeing these days is when you are listed in the 10 blue links, you may not be getting the clicks that we used to be getting. The top 3 still do, especially in things like emergency plumbing or electrical, because ChatGPT and AI at the moment aren't really doing too well for stop, drop and roll, locksmiths, pest control, that kind of stuff. People are still going to Google, looking for my closest and clicking the Google ad very much. But the correlation is if you show up in the top 10 of the blue link results, the chances of being cited by Gemini, ChatGPT or Claude are much, much higher because you've already proven yourself trustworthy to get to that index via trust and authority and fundamental SEO and just brand exposure. And all of the AI chatbots do, the LLMs, is it grabs a single question that you might throw into ChatGPT, or you might speak to it on your phone. You might give it a whole paragraph as you're driving. That paragraph or sentence gets divided into what's called fan out queries, sub questions. So you may have asked a sentence and it spits out 10 searches, 10 basically Google searches. It goes in, dips into the index. If you're asking ChatGPT, it's dipping into Bing. If you're asking Gemini, it's into Google, but also YouTube's search engine is huge. It looks at the transcript, and a lot of the time it pulls answers from videos on YouTube, which is why social media is such an important place to be syndicating your content. So is TikTok, so is Facebook. So all of these things come into play, and the more places online that mention you, that your consistent content exists, the higher the chances that you'll show up in AI and just general search engines. So showing up higher on Google gets cited by AI. It's actually quite simple. Like the ChatGPT, if you track the algorithm and how they make decisions, the correlation is, there's definitely outliers. If you deploy a YouTube video, for example, or a TikTok video that talks about something that is happening today, maybe FIFA or World Cup or something that's event, you'll be cited much quicker. There's a different algorithm for freshness and stuff. So none of this actually matters to you if SEO and being cited by AI is important. And to a lot of business, it is, and some it's not. Some businesses are already extremely established. They don't need or want any more. They get all of their leads and business through word of mouth. If anything, they're trying to de-optimize. I know that I'm trying to hide a lot of the stuff that I do from being found. I'm blessed and overloaded with too much work on my plate. So I empathize with that. Some businesses just want to show up for their brand. Some businesses want a piece of artwork as their brand. Maybe it's an architect or an artist that's been super popular and they're in high demand as it is because their work is so good. They're the ones that probably can just go ahead and just deploy this website with no consideration for the old stuff. So this isn't for everyone, but a lot of the businesses that come to me are in need of attention, leads, inquiries, people looking for what they do. A lot of the time they're in competitive spaces. Definitely real estate is. Might be plumbers, electricians, tree removalists, builders. They all can benefit if they can handle the work by showing up in Google Maps, organic listings, ChatGPT, Claude, any AI language model that dips into the standard index. Hopefully this is helpful. Now, what to do? Like where to begin? Ask whoever's building your website, hey, have you considered my old site? Log in to Google Search Console yourself. Log into Google Analytics yourself. Press the export button and say, hey, what are the top pages on my website and the kind of visitors and traffic they're getting? So you know the pages that you must either rebuild exactly as they are or at least consider them and redirect to them with the new one. The one redirection might be a bit technical for most. Ask ChatGPT, ask Google. I don't know if it's a good idea that you do that yourself, especially if there are multiple domains. There might be changes in htaccess and other ways. You might need to keep the old domain alive. So try find someone who has a little bit of SEO background or a developer that can clearly state, I've done this before, here are the cases, and we've mapped this out. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.